he knows in his heart of hearts that the players he has, there's still too many players that are not good enough for where he wants to be. And I think the club will be coming to a crossroads soon with both him, Mourinho, whether he's going to stay or go. I know the commentator kept saying, careers could be lost after a game like this. And I know he was talking about Mourinho. He could, the hierarchy might think he's not right for us. I think Mourinho, he had a pretty strong team out as well. And the captain Lloris stepped up and he made real, but it was disgraceful. It wasn't right. And I've spoke about the brilliant performance Zagreb put in, but this should not have happened. Do you know what I mean? It's not like a FA Cup game where you've gone away where it's 0-0 at the start and the team's nicked it 1-0. They've lost 3-0. You know what I mean? They've lost 3-0.
Yeah, you know what the stakes. You know what the stakes are at this level. You concede a couple of early chances. There's your warning. You go 1-0 down. There's your warning. You go 2-0 down. There's your warning. With the quality that they've got, there's no way that they should be conceding 3 goals without return. That's just unbelievable. But interesting that Mourinho continually questions the attitude of his team, like so often. Now, obviously, if you think of the likes of his Porto team, his Inter Milan team, his Chelsea team, especially in the early days, their attitudes were unbelievable. And they were so mentally strong. What do you think? Do you think Mourinho's lost some kind of element that's able to motivate his players, or do you think it is more along the lines of he's just come in? Perhaps he needs a little bit more time to implement his own plans and procedures. He has got 2 years left. So do you think it's more of that, or do you think it's a combination of both?
No, I think he's had long enough in the nicest possible way. Where we are now with Mourinho, we've seen this film before, where he'll start throwing his toys at his pram, he'll start blaming people left, right, and he'll get sacked and he'll go. Happened at Man United, it's happened at Chelsea before that. It's going to happen at Spurs. We're talking about, as Mourinho, his tactics dated. Yes, they are. You're asking me an honest opinion. I think his style of play was. If you remember, obviously Chelsea were such a strong side that he had, and it was very, they were a direct team, strong physically, powerful team. If you remember the Real Madrid team when he was at it and they played Barcelona, he used to turn the El Clasicos into fights.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And that was the Barcelona team. He used to turn. I remember one game where the El Clasico, where they played at Nou Camp and Barca won 5-0. And that was the best Barca performance I'd seen in El Clasico. And I think that was the game for him to say, this is never going to happen again. So he turns games into fights. Now, you've got to have players that buy into that. He was lucky at the time. He had, you got Pepe, you got Ramos, you know what I mean? They'll absolutely lap that shit up. Absolutely. Now, you look at Spurs and you say, I think Højbjerg would be the only player I'd say in the whole of that team who I would call a nasty, horrible Mourinho type player. And Mourinho starts him every game. There's no coincidence with that. Now, if you give Bale, Son, and Harry Kane to any other manager in the league, you'd have a different output. Because there's an argument to say they're the best front three in the world. Do you know what I mean? And I just think you watch the way Spurs play, there's nothing. It's defensive. It's dull. They played Palace recently where they were winning 1-0, they were playing well. And then it sort of started going to the back into the shell. And Palace equalised when it was for half-time. And that was just the kick up the backside they needed. Because if it stayed 1-0, they'd have just defended deep for the rest of the second half. They went out and attacked and they scored 2-3 goals. You know what I mean? They need. It's like Mourinho's got this break on them all. It's like you can only attack so much. You can only, we don't want to get caught on the turnover. We don't want to get counter-attacked on. And the game's moved on from there. It's such a boring team to watch. They're so methodical the way they play. Do you know what I mean? It's like you go there, you move there. Everything's very sort of slow rigid. And cumbersome.
It's very rigid as well. Like there's, I don't want to say it, like Rafa Benitez was the perfect manager of a rigid system, but he had the ability to adapt. Whereas I feel like Mourinho, you are right. It's very rigid a system. It is very you go there, you do this. Just, I always think that he would. It's like you said there. I think if he'd went into a team like maybe like Atletico, and he inherited that team, it's a completely different outcome.
I agree. Yeah.
But in reality, he's inherited a team that, in effect, played really good football. You know, obviously the results start to go a bit down the pan towards the end of Pochettino, but he did have them a way of playing. You know, in reality, they were competing with the best in Europe at the time.
I still don't get that sacking of Pochettino till this day. Like, no. What did Spurs want? You know, you always think, fans and clubs always say, "Oh, we'll get rid of him." Who are you going to bring in that's better? That's the question. Have you got anyone if you've got no one better, just stick with what you've got. You know what I mean? Because it will look to improve it. Because it's not like he was a bad egg, or he was a bad, he was creating a toxic atmosphere or anything like that. You knew the way his team was playing, the club and the players bought into him, the players liked him. Do you know, it was just investment, and that's all it was. And then you bring Mourinho, was complete opposite.
Yeah. Tottenham bringing in Mourinho was like one of those bad horror movies, like, you know, where everybody can see what the ending is going to be. It's just going to turn into a kill fest where everybody's just falling down at every opportunity. You know, it's just not going to work out whatsoever, and we could all see it coming. But the only thing that I would say is Daniel Levy, when bringing him in, what do you think his objective would have been? What do you think he would have said to Mourinho?
Quite obvious. I mean, it's like this whole thing that Mourinho's a winner, and Spurs need to become a winning team. They need to win some sort of tournament, a cup competition, whatever it might be. Elite. Well, they're not going to win the league. That's the reason why he was brought in. I think a few years, 2 years in, a year and a half in, whatever he is. I don't know exactly when he joined. You look, there's not a lot that's really changed, and it's the same old Mourinho type team. You know, it's a bad combination, because I'd say it's Spurs be very Spursy, and you've got Mourinho's.
I tried not to use that word.
Yeah, sorry, it's a very sort of apt word to describe Spurs. And then you've got Mourinho's sort of archaic tactics and views of how the game should be played. Combine them both together, and you get what you've got at the moment, which is like a bag of shit, really. You know what I mean?
So, with that in mind, would you say that he's been brought in to win a trophy, simply to win a trophy, or do you think it's more along the lines of improve the play, improve the squad as a whole, and to just take them forward?
Nah, I mean, obviously, every time you employ someone, you want to take it's done with the intention of taking the club forward. But the sole intention why Spurs got him in was to win a tournament, win his competition.
With that in mind, if he goes on to win the Carabao Cup, and Spurs don't do anything other than that, maybe they finish inside the Europa places, do you think that's a successful season in Daniel Levy's eyes?
Probably, yeah. I mean, it's a tough one. They win the Carabao Cup, it probably ends up being a neutral one, because I think it's been a poor one for Spurs. Do you know what I mean?
And it buys them another season, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. But it's another season of sameness, isn't it? You know what I mean? Nothing's really going to change. I think anyone who watched Spurs over the last year can see. Like you watch, I mean, the Tuchel one's a really good example, because Chelsea's been in 15 games, yet you know how they're going to play. It's clear set identity of how we're going to play. This is what we want to do. Whereas with Spurs, he seems to go from back four to a back three. You brought Doherty in. You got you know what I mean? There are bodies that have gone in, and he's like, Doherty's not very good. Like Ori, but Doherty, we didn't really fancy. You know,
There's a lot of players that he needs to get rid of, and I don't think he's going to have enough time to basically enhance that squad. I was just interested to hear if you seen Joe Hart post on Instagram.
I heard about it. Did he write "job done"?
Job done, 3-0. So it was like 3-0, and then it had 3-2 on aggregate in the background. And he said basically he apologised. It was something done by his social media team. You know, like in reality, Jesus Christ, I do truly believe, obviously, that's not Joe Hart. He's not going to surely take the piss that much.
Yeah.
But that is a horrific mistake, whoever that is.
Yeah, that social media team is getting sacked.
Oh, 100%.
You're gone. Absolutely. So just before we sort of move on, I don't know if you've seen Mourinho's favourite next to go. Do you think he could go before the end of the season?
Yeah, I do think I think he will go before the end of the season. I thought that since the start of the season, well, I say the start of the season, I just never thought it was going to work out. And obviously, when they had that little bit of form after Christmas, and I think they were top of the league with us at one point. It's funny to see where we both are now, but as soon as that went sour, I could see him going. I don't think they're going to beat Man City, and I don't think they're going to do anything further with them. I think they should just cut the losses. I've actually got the odds to go up here. I'm very prepared to. We've got Jose Mourinho. He's evens to go next. We've got Bruce at 4-1 and Sam Allardyce at 5-1. Any of Ty's tips on there? Lay Mourinho.
Do you know what? Actually, yeah, because I don't know if Daniel Levy will get rid of him now that they're in the final. So, bring a manager in just to play, play because the season's a write-off. What they're going to do? They're unlikely to finish Champions League spots.
He's going to have to pay him 15 million a year, and he's got 2 years left. So I don't.
Yeah, exactly. Just play him. You never know. You've got 10 games in the Carabao Cup to look forward to and see what you can get out of your players. Outside chance you get in the Champions League, but yeah, no, I don't see the point of sacking him. Like, question goes back: who are you going to bring in?
Yeah,
who's better? Who's going to come? I mean, I suppose you'll have plenty of good managers that will come, but it's like who it's a tough one.
Yeah, who's going to improve them? I think it's easy for people to say the likes of maybe Nagelsmann. That would probably be the Tottenham fans, but they just throw that out in reality.
There is a manager who is available who I think would be phenomenal and brilliant for Spurs, but whether they'd actually is Allegri is currently not working. Do you know what I mean? He was at Juve Milan. From what I've heard, he has been sort of polishing up on his English. So he's got an eye view. And he is one of the best Italian managers, and I rate him so highly.
Just one more thing on Tottenham before we move on. Obviously, Kane and Son, they're a class apart from the rest of the squad. Kane's now, I think he's around about 28-year-old. I think you know the question that I'm about to ask you. Do you think he'll be tempted to move on? And I think by now, a lot of fans will kind of let him go with a blessing. And is he a player that you rate?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've watched him quite a bit, obviously, not actually, because there's been so much football on. But I didn't realise he's such a clever footballer. Like, his brain works so well, you know what I mean? And everything he does and his passing ability, everything's brilliant. In terms of sort of leaving, I'll throw this question back at you. Me and you should know about this. And I'll just say one name, Steven Gerrard. Because he was in the same sort of team as Liverpool, as Spurs are now. Gerrard played through a lot of shit, and he never left. It comes down to Harry Kane, whether Spurs are a big club, they're playing at a top stadium, you know what I mean, and he's in Europe, and you obviously want a challenge, but I don't know. It comes down to Harry Kane. It's a tough one, isn't it? It's like, well, any club, any team in the world will take him, but it's a Steven Gerrard, Harry Kane type thing, isn't it? It's like,
that is an amazing comparison. I didn't even think of that. Well done. That is very much. It's a very good comparison. Now I've got to think of it with my Liverpool and Spurs fan hat on. Obviously, you want him to stay forever. He'll never be seen in the same way that he would at Tottenham, regardless of where he goes and what he wins. So. Do you want to go down as a legend, a club legend, an all-time top goal scorer, or do you want to effectively go on and win a few things in what could be the next 2-3 years, which are your prime? I'd probably stay. I'm thinking of Steven Gerrard. I'd stay. Yeah. I think I would stay. Especially, he's getting a lot of injuries at the moment, and how many clubs will be willing to pay the amount of money that Daniel Levy thinks that Harry Kane's worth, and I think what he thinks he's worth is upwards of 100 million, and I don't think you're likely to get that. So unless his contract runs down and he forces a move, I can't see it happening. So I think he'll stay. What about yourself? Yeah. Do you think he'll stay?
Yeah, I do as well. Because you never hear clubs sniffing around here. Now that's
it's
obviously
the
apart
surprise.
from the agent, because if a clubs are sniffing around, it's because the agent of that player is going about and touting that player.
Yeah.
Because obviously, he's obviously settled. He's not moving, and I don't think he'll move. I think you've got. I mean, we talk about Spurs. Spurs have got some top players. Like really top players. We're talking about. The front three of class. Ndombele is a top player. Reguilon, really good. Do you know what I mean? So I think we've got. They've got some good players in there. So he'll probably be looking about and think the team. I think Spurs are massively underperforming. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So they should be playing. They should be challenging for the top four, and probably better than that. But I think like Spurs and a couple of other teams have just massively underperformed. But then we talk about Spurs where they are. Look where Arsenal are and Arteta. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the same. It's weird how we see it. Are we making that judgment because we know Mourinho's been successful previously and the baggage that is brought with him, whereas Arteta's new, we're giving him the benefit of the doubt. Yet Spurs are higher than them in the league and they play a different way. There's different ways of playing football, but I think everyone's of the same opinion that Mourinho's. But yeah, I think just sometimes the comparisons are a bit weird and a bit tough. We're looking at.
They are, like you said, they are underperforming. There's no way that they should have dropped to the levels that they have from where they were. Obviously, we think of Liverpool, you can actually think of the reasons why that happened. I went into it in a fact type video. If you just refer to our previous video, whereby we've got a lot of injuries. You think of Tottenham, they've had a couple here and there, but nothing really that you can pinpoint and you think that that's the reason why they're in such a decline at the moment. But I just want to go back just lastly. Obviously, we mentioned Harry Kane. He has a bit of the loyalty. He's always going to go down as a legend. Obviously, we know that Son, he is actually a fan's favourite, Sonny, as they call him. He's a little bit different. I think he's around about the same age. Is he someone that you can see moving on?
Yeah, because he doesn't have that connection to the club like Kane does.
Mm-hmm.
And he will he'll get like clubs. He will start for every team in the world.
Yeah.
If he went.
Top class.
I just think, so I think he just comes down to the connection. I mean, obviously Liverpool have had some of the best forwards the game's seen in the Premier League. Like, we're talking about Suarez, Torres, all these sort of players, and they'll come and go. But Gerrard always sort of stayed in it. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing. Yeah. You've got these players. Bale went, Modric went. You know what I mean? So they'll have these top players leave and go. But I think Harry Kane will be the constant.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, so obviously, as always, we want your opinions down below. You'll obviously you'll agree, you'll disagree. Tell us where we're going wrong. Our question to you is: will Harry Kane stay, and will Mourinho get the opportunity to stay? So just put that in the comments down below. Again, subscribe if you haven't already. You should by now. Join our 76, possibly 77 subscribers in the Beating the Press podcast.